live. This is Father Jonathan Meyer, and this is our weekend preparation program. And we're here every single week putting out some content to help you enter into deeply the scriptures. So this weekend, it is the 29th Sunday of Ordinary Time. It's Matthew 22, 15 through 21. 22, 15 through 21 in the Gospel of Matthew. And this is the great render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and to God what is God's. So we talk about money, and Jesus actually talks a lot about money, and people don't like when priests talk about money or pastors talk about money, but Jesus talks about money, so we should talk about money, right? I always like to remind people, if you take your money out of your wallet, it's going to say, "In God we trust." So it's a great reminder right there that God's name is on your money. So where did your money come from? Well, your money came from God. That's right. You can say, well, okay, well, Father, we didn't always have money. Sometimes. Well, okay, so let's go back pre-money days. If you were going to trade some beaver pelts for some flour, where did those beaver pelts come from? God. Where did the flour come from? The grain that God created. So everything is ultimately God's. And once we begin to understand that everything in our life is a gift from God, and that we have been given the ability to be blessed by these gifts, and we have the ability to use what God has given to us, number one, to praise Him, to bless Him, for our own sustenance because He loves us, and then to bless others, it's really amazing. When the perspective is no longer, this is mine, I've earned this, and when possessiveness disappears, we then have the ability to actually surrender and to lay down in a very beautiful way. So we hear often, and I can go on a whole biblical analysis of tithing, right? Like this, giving your 10% to the Lord. Clearly, everything belongs to the Lord, not just 10%. Everything is God's. But clearly the Bible does say that, God says, give your first 10% to the Lord, and then you get to deal with the other 90%. I think it's pretty powerful when we begin to think about it that way. God says, hey, here's 90% of what you've earned. Give me the first 10% to constantly remind yourself that everything is a blessing from God, that everything you have is a blessing from the Lord. And so as we enter into this season of the year when people are often thinking about harvesting their fields and bringing in their crops, we're called to meditate as well upon the blessings that God has given to us, and then how do I distribute them? Do I just put them into a barn and store them up, or am I giving them to others to change the world? Am I using them to bless others, to glorify the Lord, and being generous with what the good Lord has given to me? So allow this week to be an opportunity to do a little self-analysis. Where am I at with generosity? Where am I at with understanding with the blessings that God has bestowed upon me? There are questions down below for a small group discussion. I'd like to just remind you that here at All Saints Parish, we've opened ours cafe and meeting house. Maybe it'd be a great time to call somebody up and say, hey, I'll meet you at ours, and let's talk about the questions on the Alive program that we have, and just allow it to be a day to reflect and think and be with a friend. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.